Hey everybody, welcome back to Roadside Nuggets. We love you all. Holy boy, the waves are crashing in, man. I'll tell you that. We actually just got done having a lot of fun, having some water time with the fam bam. Summertime is pretty cool to go out and have like a lot of water fun. Everyone kind of like, has like these individual experiences where like, oh, it's too hot outside. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to sweat. I don't want to really be out there in the sun. It's like, we actually had like a really awesome family day, just going out in the sun and like, like just pretty much splashing each other with different with water and just having fun, just being in unity, just really just having the day and just experiencing that. It was really awesome. Definitely got a lot of sun codes in and vitamins and stuff, and definitely a lot of moments just to kind of like feel into things today and yesterday. Definitely, for me, and I feel like it's a interesting topic to really point out that going through the ascension process. So many times people like they're used to like having it already put together for them, right? Everything that's new in human society that comes out, it's like a already fit together product, made for people just to buy. They don't have to do anything to it. They don't have to apply any part of their energy, or they don't get to co-create or include their own energy into it. It's already a fixed product, a fixed item, and therefore it's like, okay, you can be happy with this. It's like, no. Did you input anything into it? No. So it's like it's someone else's energy, it's someone else's ideas, it's someone else's co-creation, which doesn't make it, anything less. However, if that's your confirmation, if that's your state of, just, living and being a part of experience in life, it's a detriment to yourself, because everybody has divine gifts. Everyone has creativity. Everyone has like their own uniqueness that is unlike everybody else's. So I feel a big one for people waking up and people, realizing this is their experience. Like once you wake up, there's a point you realize there is no going back. You can't go back to sleep. You can't unknow the things that you've been exposed to at this point. It's real. And it just spoils everything that you probably believed in, that you've hoped for, that you've attached to, that you've been planning for. Yeah, it probably spoiled a lot of that. And it's not really to be bitter about that. It's a blessing. That saves you from going those 5-10 years and in that timeline doing something that absolutely would not bring you joy. It's not what you think it is. It's not what's you've made it up to be in your mind, right? So the thing with ascension is a lot of the same way as well, where people get scared to step out there and be the only one. Mom was the only one the entire time, and she had to, like we shared yesterday, she had to hold that line. She couldn't step off it because nobody else was going to step up to it. And that is the same perspective for all of us. The first and second waivers that are waking up and that are coming online and activating, who do you feel is going to do it? It's got to be you. And a lot of that part of it is your experiences in your life and you picking up the reins of it and deciding that you are going to be responsible and accountable for your lane of energy. Right? You're no longer going to be a burden to the world or a burden to others. You're no longer going to be a contradiction to everything that you say you want, that you hope for, yet your actions are not showing it. Your behavior, how you are living, is not the reflection of it at all. So it's just a fantasy. It's something that you use in small talk and superficial conversation with people that sounds good. It helps the energy and the time go by, but at the end of the day, it's not actually what you really truly want. You won't fight for it. You won't stand up for it. You won't lift a finger to support it. And this is where we really have to look at ourselves. We really have to be so present. And it's not about like catching yourself in a lie. It's not about chastising or disciplining you or putting yourself in the corner and time out because you fucked up. No, it's not about that. But unless you're looking at it, you won't know. And the fear of it, of not looking at it, is because you don't want to be wrong when there is no being wrong. It's all experiences. I'll share with you, definitely with, just of my own personal experiences just before mission and coming on to mission, and everyone's contracts and roles are unique. They're all different, right? And you can't get stuck in this mode where you are observing so much outside yourself. It takes away from your internal, right? You're so fixated, you're so focused on watching everything move around you that you forget to pay attention to your own internal self, which is also at the same time everything else is moving, the internal self is also shifting. It's changing. And in many moments, way more than the external reflection is. But you're going to miss it. You're not going to understand yourself. You're not going to catch these pings and synchronicities and these awarenesses that help you put the pieces together for yourself so you can be more self-efficient. You're missing all of that because you're still expecting it somehow, whatever the answer is, to come to you and show yourself physically from the outside world. It's not how it works. It's how we were conditioned, how we were programmed in school, technology, everything is blasting itself to you. It's like, the short attention span, right? And so out of the short attention span of the human being, they create impulse, control. Where like on commercials, it's like these little short commercials with so much color, so much noise and everything like that. It's like impulse control because they know for those small seconds, that's all they've really got your whole undivided attention in. So then they'll blast you every 7-10 seconds, something new. That's how TikTok is so freaking big. How small those videos are and how you can keep scrolling, going through new content. It's impulsive, right? Because we only have that small attention span, so that's really where it gets in. It's really where it does a lot of the dysfunction at. Because everything else we're bypassing. We're not paying attention. Go to a movie, you probably paid attention to probably 40% of that actual movie. Honestly. You might think you can recall the lines or what actually happened, the big events in the movie, but most of it you actually tuned out. Most of humanity does not have the actual physical ability for their brains to be so very present where it is actually receiving the present reality information, the truth. No, there's so much belief system and filters. He said, she said, all these different things. What I was told, how I was raised, how I learned in school, in church, military, it doesn't matter where it is. There's so much of all this in the front of it. By the time you are engaging in any present experience in your reality, it has to go through all those filters before it actually gets to you. And that's happening every single second, every moment. Your conversations with other people, what you're doing at your job, everything. There's so many holes in your awareness that you are not seeing the truth. You're not catching things because it's how disassociated we have been. You didn't want to be here in the first place. You didn't really enjoy your life in the first place, but fuck it, who cares? I'm going to put my shoes on and go back to work today anyways, right? Why? Isn't that what people in a society do? Isn't that what civilized people do? They go to work, they work for their family, they provide. It's like you got to do a lot more humanness than just living off the basics of a 3D society. That's not being human. That has nothing to do with being human. That's called just taking care of something. That's called, well, your physical body is doing things, yeah. You need to eat, yeah. You need to wash, yeah. Great, those are basics. That has nothing to do with the actual human itself. Those are all byproducts. Those are effects. Those are aftermaths that you have to figure out solutions for. How to clean yourself, how to feed yourself, how to support yourself. Those are all external aftermaths, effects. The before is the actual body. The before is actually your internal self, the soul, the conscious awareness. That's the before that everything after stems from, right? Before and after, cause and effect. Everyone's so focused on the effect and the dysfunction and the drama and everything going on, is yet the internal self that's constantly generating this dysfunction, creating these thoughts, bringing this energy back into the field or the energy into the space to where it prolongs it even more. You see, you can't fish for it. It's all inside, all of it. And the same thing going back to what we were talking about with people waking up and ascension. There is going to be so much in your experience that's waking up that it's not going to be reflective. There's so many things that you're going to be going through waking up that the surrounding environment, the people around you, they're not going to get it. They're not going to understand. They're not going to be able to reflect all that back to you, even if you are being loving. Maybe they don't understand how to love. They've never loved themselves. So what you are expecting to see out of your experience just because you've made a certain choice for yourself, you can't put that on other people, right? Because everyone has allowed to go through their experience and process, and they're completely unlike yours. At the same time, you still have a mission. You still have a soul contract. And you still have the awareness that this is happening, whether they do or not. Which, it doesn't dismiss you. It doesn't excuse you from your accountability just because other people around you that you would rather have with you are not ready yet. That's not true. That's the kind of dysfunction that got into this mess where we are waiting for so many people to do it first before us before we will feel like we have the balls to do it. We'll get a spine to stand up and say the same things after we've watched already a lot of people go through the ringer, take on the heat of it. Oh, well, yeah, you know what? I feel the same way. I'm going to say something too. Where were you 2 years ago, my nigga? Where are you at, right? You cannot sit there and say you feel certain things or that these are your thoughts or these are your perceptions and not move on any of them. Like the whole age of like the contemplator where you sit in a rocking chair and smoke a cigar and you just think endlessly and think that that's somehow supposed to lead you to nirvana, divine enlightenment. Absolutely not. It will not happen that way at all. It's all self-importance. It's not really focused on how do we get all of this to 5D and what changes need to come into place to actually help that process along. What do we need to still learn? What do we need to actually anchor in? Well, what do we need to be disciplined in? What do we need to right action on the planet? What's out of alignment still that we have not discovered yet? Those are the main things that should be everyone's focus. That's the whole reason why you're here, even breathing, walking on this planet. Not what you're going to have dinner tonight. Not what you're going to go out and do this weekend. None of that has anything to do with why you're on this physical planet. It's this delusion. And a lot of it is delusional grandeur, where people want to create this life. They have this image of a life or experience that they want, and they want to be in it so bad, they'll do whatever they have to get it. And it'd be very, very sorely disappointing in a lot of ways for you to get to that point and realize it absolutely was nothing that you thought it was. And then you can't get back those years. You can't get back all the energy you put into it, the investment, all the stress and anxiety and lack of self-love that you gave yourself the entire time to that point. And once you realize it no longer was worth it, now what? You have a trail of dysfunction behind you trying to achieve something that was not even worth it. And that same trail of dysfunction, you got to go through and clean it up now. Where did you go wrong? Where did you go out of alignment? Where did you hate yourself? Where did you just drag yourself unwillingly into the experience, knowing full well what the experience was going to be like, but you still did anyway? Sabotage, arrogance, pride, resistance, stubbornness, even though you fully knew it probably wasn't the highest choice. That's where humanity's at. A lot of it has no reason behind it. The dysfunction's planet, there really is no reason behind it. It's just a lot of people choosing things because they want to choose it, because they have a chip on their shoulder, they have a lot of resentment, grief, bitterness, things they're walking around wanting other people to compensate them for, or they want to blame the world for. Until that happens, until someone outside themselves takes accountability for the misery they have lived in this life, they don't have to help anybody. They don't have to be love. Be in alignment. They don't have to support anything other than their own self-important intentions and desires. So it's like, okay, a bad egg, and then you do bad egg. It's like a cancel out. It's still the same dysfunction, whether you choose it or the collective chooses it, or you have an experience that blends into yours, and you still choose the same thing in the flip, because now you're unhappy. Now you're triggered. Now you're taking it personal. Now you're in blame. And this is going to be the ping pong ball, back and forth, right? That's what it is. Most of humanity has absolutely no idea why they're mad right now. There's things on the surface where you can pinpoint. It's like, yeah, that's fucked up. Yeah, that's out of alignment. That's not love. The things that they do with the children on this planet, everything, right? However, there's a very big difference between the actual true reality of how fucked up this planet is and where humanity's awareness is at. And humanity's awareness is not on true reality. Therefore, most of the shit that they are worried and pissed off and triggered about doesn't even matter. Therefore, there's no reason for it. Therefore, most of humanity is just in a rage fit for no absolute reason. If you ask them why they're so angry, if you ask them why they're depressed, if you ask them why they're so upset, most of the time they actually don't know why. They don't. They might have certain blames already in their arsenal ready to fire off. Well, this person, then this happened. It's like, but why are you angry? And you start getting deeper and deeper, and they actually don't know. And they want you to stop talking to them. They don't want to talk about it anymore because they're getting more triggered just talking about it because they don't actually know why they feel that way. But it's somebody's fault, isn't it? No. This automatic wanting to blame, this automatic wanting to project outside yourself for the miseries that you manifest in your life is one of the biggest way how humanity got this way. Because all of it's collectively manifested. Whether through your thoughts and your energies or the 8 billion people on this planet, somebody let the energy in. And it was, most of the time, it was a long time ago before we even got here in this incarnation. So for you to sit here and say, well, I'm not accountable for all that. I didn't do that. I didn't choose that. Yeah, but you did 2 lifetimes ago. But no one's standing there with a script sitting, telling you all the out of alignment things you did for not only from this lifetime, all the ones before. All the chaos and darkness and destruction we've caused in the lifetimes before this one. No one's holding that against you. So to feel so free, like you absolutely have nothing. You just put your hands behind your back. You have nothing to do with the nightmare going on is absolutely bullshit. It's not true. And we have been given such a blessing. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. The people on this team are grateful that like all that we really had to consciously aware wise, like take on and really interface with, most of it is energetics, both from this incarnation and a lot of the other timelines that through mom's guidance, she led us through those different timelines. So we close them off, dissolve them, release those karmic energies, all those different things. If we were sitting there trying to do this ourselves, dude, we'd be lost in the sauce. Like there's too many. Like if it was a filing cabinet, there'd be too many files. We'll never find the right files in the right divine moment to make a change in the shit for it to actually ever do anything, right? And it was everything was always for the highest. There's moments we talked about Atlantis, times we talked about Lemuria, things we talked about Egypt and all these different other timelines. And there's moments where the same one kept coming up specifically for whatever reasons, right? So going into this, like it's not, like where humanity thinks things are hard, where they think it's too much, it's too overwhelming, it's too much information, it's too much for them just to deal with. It's like you have no idea how much from the other lifetimes have already been cleared and closed off for you not to be aware of that, because if you actually were, the humanity would pop. There's no way humanity could sit there and take on the full accountability from just their lifetimes this one time around, let alone all of them. Because they can't even look at their own choices they're making now. Be delayed eons. It'd be a forever process. That's why in 2009, Mom had to clear the entire karmic slate for humanity. There was no way we were going to make it past that. It was too big. It was too much. And she cleared it. However, everything from 2009 up to this point, that's still karma and humanity has to deal with. And everything in this moment, especially after Mom has physically ascended, the choices and things that are happening right now, those are very real lessons that you're asking for in some level, right? And so like getting to this point where we're like, we have to realize like the school and just how we've conditioned ourselves into what actually is hard. We don't know what's hard. We don't. What's work? We really don't know what work is. Until you start doing that internal transformation, so you start sitting with yourself, doing serious reflection work and actually moving through that kind of energy, that's real work. That's enough work that will make you sweat. It'll make your heart palpitate. It'll bring the anxiety up. It'll stress your ego out. You'll be running a marathon, sitting in a meditative pose by a tree, going to war, clearing out the density from your body. You know, like that amount of focus and attention you give yourself to actually deal with your energy so that you can evolve and you can shift into a new energy. You're not born just to be the same thing for the rest of your life. You're so multidimensional and you have been so many other forms of life physically already, billions of years ago. This is not just you, right? There's so many different layers to yourself. until you start pulling those back, making new choices for yourself, deciding that the same old behaviors, like, it's played out. It's an old deadbeat drum, it's like, and nobody gets satisfaction out of beating it, especially not you, right? So quit trying to flaunt in front of people like you're still trying to keep up this old story. You ever like seen that, like a lot of, like, I think it was like in the 90s, the late 90s, there was like a, there's like a thing with not really, we called them old timers, it was still respectful. It was more of a joking, like, younger term conversation thing like we had with the older men on the block and stuff, and we called them old timers, right? And there's this thing where, like, you could see in their personality, there was a lot of things about their personality that they still were trying to mimic, and that's what it was. There was parts of their life that they enjoyed so much, or that they thought was so much them, that later in older age, when, like, they slowed down and they were just like, the old timers on the block, the older guys that were just wise and had, like, a lot of conversation if you really wanted to listen to it. They were the ones that, like, I could see in their personality and their behavior, they were trying to portray like this, like, sometimes a younger version of themselves. They were trying to, like, dip into, like, other cultures, thinking that makes them look young, thinking that makes them new age, or just a new kind of old grandpa. And not, it's like when you start needing the external to change you, to make you feel better, it's like you're already fucking it up. You're getting it wrong. But that's how over our life we've been trained that way. That this is real. What's in here that you can't touch and understand, that's not. That's where the fear is. Where people are like, whoa, I'd rather trust this person because I really, really trust them. They're successful. They have a great family. They have a great job. They have awesome finance and everything. They really be doing well for themselves. So I trust them. So basically, you're trusting someone solely off of everything that they have. One, the things that you've observed from outside perspective, like a movie, and that's enough for you to trust them on what they say, on an experience that you have to take on. It's ridiculous, right? And this is where we have to learn how to follow our own voice, our own feeling inside, where your heart is, your own intuition, your own discernment, and how that distinctly is very different from just listening to someone else's mouth tell you something, right? Everything you listen to, everything you hear or receive, you should always reflect on it, because it's not just taking what someone says or what someone gives you and just accepting that, yes, that's truth. No, feel into it. What are your perspectives on that? What do you feel in that? From your experiences and your wisdoms that you've collected over life in your contract, what can you add to this awareness they've shared with you? Is there more? Can you go deeper into it? Can you expand on that? Or can you open it up really to a whole new picture they share with everybody else, right? Everyone's scared of being wrong. Everyone's scared to go into those spaces where they actually figure it out, because that means they've reached the truth. And that means what? They have to lose something. Something's going to change that they may not want. All their control is going to get triggered. You see, it's like this game where we play ourselves. We're fully aware on many levels what's going on inside, right? But also we're trying to play this dumb card with ourselves too. I've played it so many times myself in 3D. I'm fully aware of this energy, and it is a big collective energy as well. And a lot of people manipulate and deceive themselves through this energy by just playing dumb. And you're not dumb. Fully well you're watching yourself, doing what you're doing, thinking and choosing what you're choosing. However, when the consequences come, when the karma comes, it's like, oh, well, I didn't know. Or it's like this dumb card, right? And we think that by just verbalizing that, it gets us out of jail. We feel like by pulling that card, somehow it allows the escape. No, it doesn't. It actually creates more karma, because that's actually your lesson right there in that moment, to step up and take responsibility and accountability for it, and realize, yes, I'm deceiving myself. I'm manipulating my own choices, my own thoughts, or I'm doing it to somebody else. Whether it's external or internal, it's an energy, and it definitely sabotages everything. It doesn't want you to be happy. It doesn't want you to actually ever achieve anything grand for the collective at all. It wants you to stay in the state of fear, lack. in a suppression state where like everything is a journey, everything is a uprising, like an underdog. You have to fight for it. You have to rebel and revolt. You have to take the power back through control. It's like, that's not how you take power back. You don't go into control to get your power back. That's redundancy. It's a contradiction of why you would even attempt that in the first place. That's how they got your power in the first place. They controlled you, so you're going to do the same thing. It's like, how did we expand? How did we heal? How did we step up and be a better example? We didn't. We got even. We went into revenge, spite, envy. That's not love at all either. Therefore, you start running out of excuses very fast with mom. It's like it runs fast, very, very quickly it runs out. And it's like, you have to look at it. There's no way around it at all. You have to look at the energy and realize everything is for the highest. It needs to be expressed. It needs to be experienced. It needs to be released and transformed and let go of. But if nobody has the balls to step up and do it, say it, be in the experience, I'll allow it. Surrender, which is definitely I'll share one of the things like I was like so spinny about on mission through the years, and like, there's certain energies that I was having a lot of trouble like transforming or figuring out myself, and I would tell mom like I don't know what to do. I'm spun on this one, and she's like, you're still not surrendering. Like, and I would like go crazy. Like, what do you mean I'm not surrendering? Like I'm supposed to allow it through? And she's like, you're not surrendering, right? And it's exactly what it was. It doesn't matter what you think, and you're thinking you know better. And this is where my energy worked a lot against me through mission, is where like, even if you have awesome intuition, divine knowing, all those different things, if you think you know better and you're trying to think ahead of the experience, you're going to fuck things up. It doesn't matter how much awareness you can pick up on. It doesn't matter how much information you get through. If you're using that to try to bypass the experience that needs to be experienced, you are going to run into a roadblock, okay? Because it's still mom's game. It's still mom's collective consciousness that we are all inside of, right? Therefore, we're all participants. We all have roles. Therefore, we don't get to be self-important and step off that line and be like, well, like, that's not for me. I don't choose that. I don't want that. It's like, somebody's got to, right? And this is where we get into the point where it talks about like your individual energetics and the collective energetics too. Because that's also why you're here for, is not only for your contract, part of that contract is for the collective. And there's 8 billion people on this freaking planet, and most of them ain't doing so hot right now. So all the beings, all the vessels coming online and that are online, that are activating, that are moving higher in vibration and consciousness, you bet your ass there's collective energies coming to you. It has to. That's the only way we're going to get a ripple moving big enough to start picking up more people. It's just that the people who are already coming online just start taking on more. You're strong enough to do that, and that's what mom's working through the back end for all of us. Anything we can take on that's highest, sign me up. I sign off on all of it. That's what the higher selves are doing. And they completely do not need your ego choice and opinion in it at all. You don't get a vote as an ego. The higher self chooses everything, and they have already decided with mom. They've already signed the contract, whatever's highest, to get this ascension underway. So there's a lot of people who have been in spiritual light worker community and like working on themselves, working with energy crystals and all kinds of different things. However, all that work, definitely, I'm not saying it didn't do anything. However, there's so much more you have to do. And a lot of it, yes, is taking on additional collective energies. Because somehow those people got to make it too. And until someone makes the workload a little bit lighter for them, they'll never catch up. They're burdened down. They're overwhelmed. They can't do it. And so the people who are awake, it's not time to be prideful and arrogant. It's time to realize that you are awake, and at this point, because you are that strong as a soul, your sensitivity, your energy, your vibration is what's so needed and necessary, and that's the purpose of why you're in the spot you're in now. People need to feel more empowered about themselves, feel more valued, the worthiness. That's why everyone's kind of like weighing back and just like, oh, I just don't know, I realized I spent the last 20 years on this and I really got far and I did really good work, but I just don't really feel I want to do it anymore, like no one cares. This is the crap. This is the crap that happens where people get tired, depressed because the expectations and all that. It's like, you were meant for more. You weren't meant to just to find one thing in life or create one thing in life and then create your whole stability and financial system off that for the rest of your life. Live off of rituals and all these different things. No, continue to create. Keep going and expanding and learning new things, growing and doing different things you didn't do before. Don't stop. You're not supposed to stop. And that's where everyone has like this linear timeline in their minds where they think that the clock's almost up. So, I better do this. I won't have much time left. If I get older, that's probably going to be an issue for me. So I got to do it while I'm young. It's like the reasons for it all are stupid. Belief systems up the yin-yang. You know, people who are like 20 years old talking about getting old and stuff like that, so they have to do it while they're young. Are you old? Why is that even in your conscience? Why is it even part of your reasoning for doing anything right now in this moment as a 20-year-old? Tell me. What does it have anything to do with? Nothing. It's just these rampant fears that are so projected in future timelines that don't have to exist, don't exist currently right now, that with enough energy, with enough fear, with enough anxiety and stress that people put this focus into that could be their reality in 40 years. That might exactly be what they're walking into in 40 years. And although they don't want it that badly, although they're so scared of having that experience, they're going to manifest it for themselves because they're holding that much energy in it, giving their power away to that fear. That's how it works. That's how law of attraction works, right? So we got to really get good at the thought system, right? Being able to pull ourselves back in center and not letting our mind just go rampant, just go crazy, thinking all these crazy, fearful thoughts. And we just sit there and let ourselves go for a ride down like chaos lane. And it's like, no, pull out, unplug yourself from the crap, change the scenery, change the vibration, go smoke a cig, smoke some weed, drink some water, eat some food, go ground up by a tree, meditate, write something down in your journal, reflect what's going on, what are you feeling, what's going through your thoughts. If you're not doing any of those, you don't give a fuck about anything going on in your life. Everything that's happening that you think is wrong, you did that. You chose that by opening that wide door and sitting there letting something just come through. When you could have got up, you could have lifted a finger, you could have made a change, made a choice to feel better, to help yourself, support yourself, get yourself to a better vibration. If you don't care about it, nobody else cares about it about you. That's how it goes. And those are the same people that want everyone to hear their problems. They want everyone to hear their drama. That's their normal conversation. Every time they talk to people out in public or go out to a nice get-together, whatever, it's always drama. It's always problems and pain and suffering and this and he did that last year and all this. It's like, and you're still with this person? What the fuck? And like, that's the insanity. It's like they have sold themselves to a life of drama, thinking that's what's they've got going for themselves. No one has ambitions anymore. No one has higher aspirations for themselves at all, really. The dream is dead for humanity because everyone's sitting there going for, instant gratification, instant convenience. Gimme, 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 gimme now. And the moment they don't have it, they're pissed off. They're dissatisfied. Somebody's getting a referral. Someone's getting a bad review. I'm calling somebody. Like a spoiled brat sitting there mad because they don't have what they want when they're not lifting a finger to get it anyways. It's called entitlement. And that kind of energy steals, not only from your own joy, from everybody else's. Because it's a consuming energy. And that consumption energy really doesn't have a reason for it. It's endless consumption based off of jealous and envy and greed and lust. That's all it really is built back off of, which those energies are insatiable. They constantly have to consume. It's a black hole energy. That's where humanity is stuck at in a lot of ways, to where this society where everything is made more convenient for the human being, it really steals your power away and makes you more dumb. If this goes out, if this grid fails, or this gets fucked up, or this no longer works, what are you going to do? Without that special thing, you got to do that special thing for you. Did you empower yourself? Did you learn how to do it with your hands? Did you learn how to communicate with your neighbor to even go ask for help? No. So now that this is broke, now it's like the world's over. It's all over. I'm in a bad mood, I'm in a bad day, that's it. Throwing in the towel, I'm quitting, right? All these different freaking scales of being a human being, right? I remember like growing up, like I hated looking at manuals. I still to this day barely look at manuals. I don't like it, especially when putting physical things together. Like I like to touch things, and I like to literally just, like a child, start putting together. And like most of the time, it's a lot faster than the stupid directions. And sometimes I put it all together and there's still like a couple screws left over where it's like, no, this needs a screw and this screw. I'm like, no, it's pretty stable. It's pretty good, right? And it's like, why do you have to do it the way someone else says? In these set of steps, the way someone laid it out for you, just do it how you feel. If you want to start with the leg, you want to start with the butt seat part, you want to start with one of the pegs, who cares, right? Just do it. And that's the part of like self-empowerment and also confidence, that you can just pick up anything and you can learn it. That's a big hole in humanity. They've been told what they can be. Humanity's been conditioned into, you're this type, or you're this type, or this is what your lifestyle is, or this is what you are built for. It's like they can be and do whatever the hell they want, and it doesn't have to look the way you want it to look just for you to say that that's for them. You get it? It's all this control and judgment and just like, none of it's mom at all. And this is where humanity just keeps playing this ping pong ball back and forth, where like nobody's happy and it's someone else's fault. You know, nobody is satisfied, no one is supported or, you know, has a foundation, and it's someone else's fault. The real work is going to come from the internal part, and then that's a lot more than just saying that. It's a real experience where as we move, you know, more into the winter, fall time frame, that's what we've talked about before, is like that's where the external collective experience moves into the internal. You know, so just by collective energy, humanity on the planet is going to be more internal during the fall, winter, you know, part of the year. You know, that's just how the collective energy changes. You know, so why I keep saying the internal part is the most important. As we move more into this internal part, you're going to see there's so many landmines already set up in the way, is because where we have dismissed ourselves, where we have kind of like been hands off, which is more out of fear and not being responsible, accountable for our energies or just our own life, or, you know, just the experiences we still continue to choose to go through, you know, every day. And this also goes for a lot of people who, you know, it was an interesting energy because like I know my mom did this, you know, quite a bit in many moments. It's like this, we get fixated on researching. We get fixated on researching ideas and other people's understandings about things. And all we really do at the end of the day, we just fill our head with other people's, you know, perspectives, what they think it is. And then that somehow satisfies you temporarily. And it's like that's what it is. Like if something's wrong, they're suffering, they're in pain or whatever like that, they literally get so much satisfaction just off of figuring out what it is. If they can put a name to it, if they can figure out the symptom or the diagnosis for it, something like that, just knowing what it is, that calms them down. Now they're okay because they know. But then you watch them after that, and they don't do anything. It's like, oh, I have to go to the doctor, or they don't do anything about it. It's like they don't look at themselves, they don't change any of their habits, or they go to freaking doctor that tells them like, okay, take this food away, don't do this, probably can't do that, you can't lift anything, this will probably, you know, you probably hurt yourself. It's like all these fear belief systems that you get projected onto you, then you go home and you play that out. Why couldn't you make those choices yourself, sitting right there at the chair, after you researched your butt on that computer and you found out the answers yourself? Why couldn't you make those choices yourself? Why do you need the doctor in the white cloth, you know, coat to tell you to do this? And he's going to be a lot more controlling and strict and very demeaning and fear-based in what he shares back with you. Much more than you can be with yourself. You have the choice to be more compassionate, more nurturing, more patient with yourself, and feel into it. Do I really need to go to the doctor? Or do I really need to drive to the ER now because this says this is a very bad thing and this can happen? Oh my God, I don't want that to happen. I better go to the doctor. It's just like, no. You know, and this is just a very small example based off of everything in life that people just blow out of proportion very dramatically. And it's not even in that zone. And I don't want to say anything's bad or good, but it's not that bad. It literally is not that bad. what they've thought it into, what they've made up in their mind of what it is, or what will happen if they encounter that, it is nowhere close to that experience. But the fear is it's deep enough to make you think it is. And if you think it is real, then it's real to you in that experience. And that's the kicker. It may not be part of true reality, but if you think it's real, it's going to be real to you in your experience. And no one can tell you shit. No one can tell you otherwise. Because you're the one telling yourself it's real. You won't let it go. You won't trust and have faith and see if a higher perspective, or let it go and see if it will even stay. Because what's real will keep coming back. But the fear in letting things go, people, they're scared to let things go for a lot of different reasons, you know? Me, myself, I was definitely more... I realized that truth can really hurt in a lot of times, in a lot of ways. However, I also realized that being disappointed and having expectations and finding out late that it probably wasn't correct, or you made a hard, wrong turn somewhere, that's the worst taste that I've ever had in my mouth. Because if I had the awareness before, if I had the truth or the guidance before, no matter how painful it would have been in that moment, or how personally I would have taken it, or how I probably would have gotten an attitude or something like that, I still would have been so very grateful. Why? Because that would have saved me the pain and suffering that followed afterward, that I now have discovered because I was not aware. I did not know before. You know, so these things, they are a certain level of they are definitely a certain level of blessing and mercy. I know we don't talk about mercy very often, but Mom is absolutely 100% merciful, and I feel we don't really go into that because there's a lot of terms, a lot of words that, because of human society, they've demeaned it to something way low, right? When you talk about mercy, is mercy in a case like suffering, or someone's being punished, or someone's being tried for a crime, or oh, have mercy on me, and please don't hurt me, or don't kill me, or all that. It's this lower term. Mercy is a divine word. However, it's not connected to the lower context of what people have used it in human vocabulary for, right? And so Mom's mercy, definitely, it comes with the greatest compassion. And that compassion and forgiveness essentially is what mercy is, right? When people ask for mercy, they're like, okay, I'll have mercy on you. It's really for forgiveness they're asking for. Have forgiveness for me, please. And that's very different from this power over dominant energy, where it's somehow you have control or power over another person's life and their experience, and you don't. Nobody does. Everybody on this planet is God with God, and God doesn't get controlled, okay? She'll tell you to fuck off real quick. So at the same time, it's the same example for the rest of us. Nobody on this planet is controlling anybody. They are, it's happening, but in the blueprint, the divine blueprint, that's not how it goes in unique consciousness. So how we are moving up out of this density, out of this dysfunction, is going to look pretty crazy. It's going to be a maze. That's why Mom gave us very simple guidelines to follow. Divine traits, processes, techniques, how to move through the experience and transform, how to stay centered and present, no matter what we experience. And this is why it was so amazing. It's we are going into the unknown. We absolutely have no idea how this is going to look, how it's going to turn out, what's going to happen first, or if it's going to be the physical landmass changing, or our own physical bodies first. Who knows? Nobody knows. But Mom trained and taught us that no matter what we experience going into the unknown, if we are maintaining these disciplines and we are staying centered in the heart, and that's our main intention, we will always be on the highest timeline. It's always going to be the greatest, grandest experience that's possible in that moment for us. It's never led us astray, ever. And if the collective of 8 billion people can do that on a larger scale, just imagine where we could be. Imagine how much pain and suffering would be gone tomorrow if that would just get people on board with that. And the funny thing is, you express this to people, you say it in a conversation, wouldn't this sound good to you? Wouldn't this be an ideal world you'd want to exist in? Yeah, hell yeah, I would do that. But the moment they find out what the requirements are, or what they have to do to get there, no, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. And it's That's the crazy thing. You know, everything you could possibly dream is sitting right here. You just have to work for it. You have to push for it. Intentionally intend your energies for it. And support everyone else making it in that journey. That's really all you gotta do. No one's telling you have to sit there and be nailed to a cross or something. No one's asking you to be a martyr, to save anybody. You know, it's like people go crazy places with their freaking imagination, with the ego being hijacked and just blown out of proportion. Like crazy, you know, figments of the mind. Fantasy is way out of bounds. And they have no basis for it at all. It's not connected to anything. It's just like irrational fears and anxieties and anticipation that people are just walking around carrying, and it literally just attaches itself to anything in the experience. That's what's happening. The energy itself is really truly the culprit. The external experience, what people are going through, that's the funny thing, is like they think it's the external causing anxiety. This is causing me stress. This is causing this. No, the energy inside you is literally attaching to whatever you are experiencing that moment. If you didn't have that anxiety energetic in front of you or inside of you, if you went through the same experience, it would be completely different. But because there's anxiety in you, it's going to attach that experience. Because we're all external, we're going to think, oh, this stresses me out. We are externally identifying with it as this is my stress. We're not actually being internal and realizing, no, the stress is inside. I'm really just attaching it to something like a surrogate and then blaming that for my stress. You see, it's a whole process you got to go through back internal and realize it's the energy inside. It has nothing to do with the external. So that's, you know, we can go deeper in that. We can go so deep in that and have conversations for hours about that. But you know, that is literally how deep, you know, beings have to go. And especially the beings who have been awake for moments, who have been, you know, following on mission, watching live streams for years, you know, that definitely is even more so for you and your role and your energetics, you know, because there's something that happens. I'll share this with people, because people, you know, humanity has like this misconception about free will and their own choice. The moment your consciousness becomes aware of an awareness, you automatically, by a decree of creation itself, the entire company of heaven, you automatically now 100% responsible, and you are accountable for the awareness and truth you just received. And you becoming aware of things, even if you don't say it out loud, even if you don't tell anybody, God is all-knowing. God is fully aware of the present experience. The moment you become aware, God's already aware that you are aware. She already knows that you know. Therefore, you can't play dumb and say that you didn't know. You can't still choose the dysfunction, bypassing the higher awareness that you've already received and accepted as truth. That's where we generate other karmic energies to come into play. Because at that point, you're no longer ignorant. You're no longer in this unconsciousness where you don't see it, you didn't know that was happening. You're fully aware now. You just received the awareness. So that changes your responsibility and accountability to where if you keep pushing that energy, it's like the difference between, like, you know, the people walking around this planet who, you know, did not know on many different levels that, oh yeah, let's not go that way. I was about to go into an energy, and angels like probably not high. It's probably gonna go south and trigger a lot of people, so we won't. So always what's highest. However, with, you know, just I'll share it a different way. That's a better way. So I'll share it this way. So, you know, definitely there's something that happens to the conscious in the body, where the moment the truth is received, your physical body structure starts to change. Your cells, your DNA, everything in your energetic system starts to shift. You know, the moment you receive the awareness. So if that shift is already occurring, like the transformation's already started happening, your consciousness is already starting to shift with the new awareness, where we get into the debate with ourselves, you know, when we start, you know, debating and bypassing is where it meets your control. It meets the limits of your belief systems, or it meets where you won't, out of resistance, step out of that box and try the new choice or allow it, you know. Therefore, it's like a stalemate. We'd rather be stagnant. We'd rather have a stalemate and not move anywhere and almost like this prideful, like we're kind of like, what was it, like a seize. You know, when you see something, you basically just like lock it down and keep all, you know, resources from coming in. You don't let that, you know, village or community or kingdom or whatever it is that you've seized to be able to support themselves. You start cutting off their ability to function and be stable. You know, the same way you're doing internally to yourself. You know, the moment new awareness is coming in and your ego sees like, holy crap, no, we can't let that. And so we lock down. We go into stubbornness and resistance and our own deeper belief systems just to justify why we don't want to do it, why we don't want to expand, why we don't want to allow it or let it go. We don't feel like we have to let it go. Why? Because of this and that and your choice and all this. These are things that we have played with ourselves for so long, you know, wasting energy. You know, throwing tantrums and turning with ourselves where life doesn't meet our expectations yet. Are you doing anything to really support this life? Do you really even understand the life that you're blaming for your problems? That's an even deeper question. Do you understand how life works? Do you understand how collective energies on the planet works? Do you understand how the energy in your physical body works? No. So to sit there and sit with this blame, how like it's everything else and this is why it's happening, this is why people are getting misled. Humanity is not even educated based on true reality of what the energetics are of how mom designed everything. Everything's like this low degraded sciencey type energetic where, you know, it's like, oh, we have erosion, we have this and the sun and the moon and the water and the elements and all these different things, and there's no spirituality in it. There's no mom, there's no love, there's no connectedness of how when you're learning about these things at the same time it's connecting it back to you. They're not doing that in school. They're not doing it in any schools. They make everything that you learn in schools this external, distant thing that you are learning. You have no connection to it. That's not an intention that they apply in school where they help you connect back to that part of life, connect back to that part of existence or creation. It's just another thing that you're going to fill your brain with to memorize, to say that you know it, but you've never actually experienced it. So how do you know it? Right? It's a very, it's a misconstrued type of way of how to, people say that they're educated, but they're not. You know, you've sat in a desk for like 5, 6 plus 10 years learning a bunch of different things, but like, and I remember this like when I was getting like jobs too, because I only went to college for like 6 months, and then it was like one of the last straws my dad had with me is like when I went to college, and I was like, yeah, this is not gonna work out, and he hit the roof on a whole nother level on that one. and they was like trying to like usher me off to the military and stuff, like, oh well, you still gotta be stable and all, you gotta have a career and all this. It's like whatever, you know. But that was one of the things is like, you know, I don't even know what I was gonna say. I fucking started laughing. But that was one, you know, the control and just like, you know, letting other people feed you, you know, what it is that you're supposed to be doing in life when you don't understand your own process itself. You know, and that's how people get manipulated. That's how they get deceived. That's how they get misled, is by not knowing their own center, not being familiar with their own energy. So therefore it just blends and merges with everything else around them, and they can't get a center gauge off of it. They don't know. And they never spent the moments to actually try and figure it out, or to actually feel into what actually is my own energy, right? What are my own thoughts? What are my own feelings? And until you take accountability and responsibility for it, it's going to be a mesh up of everybody else's at the same time, because you're not claiming this. Therefore, it's subjected to everything else, right? The moment you start taking accountability for your energy and seeing yourself and accepting it, quit judging, and just accept it. Okay, this is my energy. It's inside of me. Great, thank you. I'm aware. Now I can observe myself in this aspect and catch myself, so that I don't get in front of my, you know, my path. I don't sabotage anything. I don't burn bridges down. I don't go unconscious. Whatever it is, you know, and that's how you start mastering yourself and learning how to move your energies around in alignment. Until that part happens, you're in an ocean. So many different waves of everyone else's consciousness that you're swimming through, and you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna go mad many, many different moments, because it's gonna feel so overwhelming to you. And the blessing, the saving in that really truly is for you to be able to discern your own, because once you can do that, your focus goes more internal. I'll tell you right now, consciousness is so multidimensional, right? The moment you focus on something, it amplifies it. Same thing with pain. People talk about like, pain so much, like, oh, my body hurts and this and that. It's like the moment you focus on it, your consciousness is going to expand on it and amplify it. It's how energies work. So a lot of people are fear-based, right? So when they focus on the pain, it's like, oh my God, it hurts. Oh, it's going to get worse. Like, oh, I got to do this now. I got to do this now because this hurts. And now I have to lay this way. It's like the more you feed that, the more you put focus on that, you are literally creating a gymnasium of more pain headed your way. Literally. That's what you're manifesting for yourself. And where our focus has got to get off the drama, people. It's got to get off the problems, the issues, what we don't like, what's gone wrong 1,000,000 times over the last 2 generations. It doesn't matter anymore. Get it, receive it, accept it, and let it go. We have to start focusing on how we are going to find solutions. What are we going to do to flip this? What are we going to do to fix it? What are we going to do to lift it to a higher vibration so this is not our experience anymore? Instead of waking up 2 weeks later and the same problem again, right? You have to flip it in order to get a different effect, a different result, a different outcome in the energy, or else it's always going to be the same. And that goes for everything else on this physical planet. Energetically, all the way down to physicality. All of it has to be flipped. And that requires conscious awareness to do that. Not people just sitting in a rocking chair, drinking a beer, having a cigars, thinking that it's all going to take care of itself and will arrive there someday. They just have to hold it down. What? I don't know what fantasy you're in with that, but that's not real either, right? Definitely the inspiration needs to return to humanity where we are inspired to take care of this planet. We are inspired to take care of each other. We are inspired to love each other better, more high vibrationally, support each other better. The inspiration that you want to live a better life. The inspiration that you want a better world and a life for the children that are already on this planet experiencing a very fucked up world. That even we as children kind of saw, we as children experienced very deeply in a lot of different ways. How somehow we got to this point in our life where children are still coming into this world. We don't want that for them. So at some point, someone's got to say, all right, enough, right? And that requires a lot more than just a couple human beings. It requires a lot more. Because they're everybody's children. Every child on this planet is everybody's child. Because we're all children. We never stopped being children. So you have just a responsibility and accountability to the other children on this planet that you maybe have never met. You're still holding it down for them. You're holding weight down. And you can do a whole lot more just by better choices, expanding yourself, taking on better, higher collective energies for the collective, higher contracts, moving your ass to be a better example of mom's love can help out the rest of the collective, thus everybody else. It's all a unity, experience for everybody. So, definitely, the magic of life will return when people start feeling more inspired to really co-create with each other and really go the distance because they care. It matters to them. They wish to live in a world that is beautiful, where everyone is loved, where everyone is supported, where everyone is abundant, where all the energy is free. There's no lack. There's no depravity. There's no suppression. Everyone is fully empowered in their own God spark to be the true image of God with God that they are. That's truly where we're headed and where we need to end up. And mom's going to see to it that we do. So love you all. Take care of yourselves. Get some water, ground, and definitely reflect. I don't feel we reflect enough, and I write quite a bit. It's still not enough. Get it all out, release it, and keep moving forward. It's gonna get better. Okay, just keep loving yourself, and everything's gonna turn out. The positivity, a lot of it is lessons in learning how to be positive, how to be more enthusiastic, and help yourself stay in a higher vibration even though it doesn't look like it. That's what masters do, and that's what mom showed us. We love you all. Take care of yourselves. We will see you back tomorrow morning. All right.